Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name is Christian and I live in my van full-time. I've been living in it for just over a year and I've actually been on the road for 2.5 years. I used to live in my SUV before that. So that's kind of what this video is about. One of the most common questions I get is, how do you even get started with living this kind of lifestyle? And so I thought I'd share a little bit about my story, how I got from living in an apartment to an SUV to a van, and also give you guys 10 tips, steps, I guess you could call them, or just like advice on things that you could consider if you are interested in this lifestyle. All right, so jumping right into how I got here. I was living in a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment in Issaquah, Washington, which is just outside of Seattle. The rent was super high. I was in a long-term, long-distance relationship of 5 years, and that was coming to an end. So I was pretty upset, devastated, didn't know what to do with my life, was reevaluating. I was basically at a crossroads trying to decide, like, did I want to continue paying rent? Did I want to maybe downsize to a smaller apartment? Maybe just travel internationally for a while, or maybe live on the road, which is something I'd always considered, or even just get a roommate. There were so many options. I wasn't sure what to do. So I spent some time really thinking on all my different options. I journaled, I meditated, I did this life mapping exercise. I eventually realized that I'm not getting any younger, and if I want to try van life, like, just do it, just try it. If you hate it, you can always go back to living in an apartment. So that's what I settled on. And I soon discovered that vans were pretty expensive, and not all of them, but what I was hoping to buy was pretty expensive, and I wasn't sure I wanted to commit to that because I wasn't sure I would actually like living on the road. So I decided to just live out of the back of my SUV, which I had done in the past. For the longest trip I had done was 5 weeks. I had my sleeping bag and my camping blow-up mattress in the back seat and just a cooler, and it was fine. Like, it wasn't super comfortable, but it worked. So I knew it was possible. It was only supposed to be an experiment of like 3 months to see if I liked it, but it was so chill. I kept doing it for 14 months. And after 14 months, I realized, okay, it's time to actually invest in a full-time vehicle, like with a dedicated workspace. So that's when I invested in the van, and that's how I got here. Okay, so here are 10 things that I wish I had known going into road life, and that I'm hoping will help you take some of the guesswork out of the process. Number 1, know your why. Why are you drawn to this lifestyle? Are you looking for more freedom? Do you want more adventure? Are you looking for a fresh start? Do you want to save money? Maybe you're trying to pay off student loans and you don't want to throw away money on rent. Are you looking to be location independent? There's so many options here, and I personally chose this lifestyle for a combination of those things. I was coming out of a long-term relationship. I really wanted a fresh start. I'm an outdoor adventure photographer, so being location independent is super beneficial, and I love the freedom of being on the road. But knowing your why is really important because, guys, you will have hard days living on the road. I haven't done a video really talking about that yet, but there are some days when I absolutely hate living in a vehicle. Like, no joke, it can be really challenging sometimes. But I remember my why. I remember the bigger picture. I remember all the good things that I love about it. And if you can come back on that and stay grounded in that and be very clear on your why, then it will definitely help you persevere in this lifestyle. Number 2, try it out. So if you have the resources, I highly recommend just renting a camper van from a rental company and doing like a 2-week road trip. See how it goes. Like, do you need a full bathroom? Do you like a cooking setup? Do you like the configuration? Do you need a 4x4? These are all things that are really helpful to work out before you invest in a van, and just renting a camper van is a really great way to do that. Another option, if you have friends that already are living on the road, maybe you could go do like a extended camping trip with them and just see how they live. You can kind of get some behind the scenes advice. Or if you have a vehicle that you can maybe push the seats up or lay the seats down, if you have an SUV, you could just throw a camping mattress and a sleeping bag and a pillow in the back and go do a 2-week road trip and see if you like it. Because there's a chance that you really won't. There's a chance that you won't like being in a small space. You'll miss having a bathroom. You'll miss having a hot shower. Maybe you can't work very well on your laptop. There's a lot of things to consider. So I really highly recommend trying it out first. So let's say you tried it out, you did the road trip and you loved it. So now it's time to do your research. One of the most important things to start with is what kind of vehicle do you want to live in? So there's so many options here. Do you want it to strictly be an adventure rig? Do you want it to be a van? Would it be a used van? Would it be a new van? Do you want a 4x4? Do you want an RV or maybe a pickup truck with a pop-up tent? Does it need to have a dedicated workspace? Do you need space for surfboards or skateboards or mountain bikes? Will you have a pet with you? Will there be more than one person in the van or vehicle? Do you need a really intense power setup? Do you need solar panels so that you can power camera, laptop, so that you can work from the road? Once you decide what kind of vehicle you want, do you want to do the build yourself? Do you want to hire a company to do it? How much lead time do you need to get a slot with that build company? Or is it possible that you can make your current vehicle work, like I did with my SUV? And as a side note, my friend Andrew Kearns, he's an amazing photographer, amazing videographer. He had a Land Cruiser, and as an experiment, he decided to live out of his Toyota Prius, and he traveled the whole West Coast in that thing. Like, he rocked it. So you have a lot of options. It really comes down to your resources, what you're comfortable with, and your level of creativity. Step 4, make a budget. Okay, so you've decided what kind of vehicle you want or what you're working towards, and now you have a better idea of your financial goals. So this is a good time to take inventory of how much money you have and where you can potentially cut expenses and lower your overhead. So what I mean by that is your overall monthly expenses. You want to bring those down as much as possible in order to save money. So maybe you can cancel unnecessary subscriptions. Maybe you can eat out a little bit less. Maybe you can quit ordering lattes. Maybe you stop shopping altogether for anything other than the essentials. Another option is to kind of go through your things and decide what you might want to sell. You can start listing smaller items on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. You could take them to a secondhand thrift store. I started going through one room a day about 4 to 5 weeks before I moved out of my apartment. Here's my closet. So pretty much I've been getting rid of bags and bags of clothes, but this is like all the stuff that I'm getting, well, not all of it. Like half of this I've decided to get rid of so far. And then I still need to go through this stuff. And that half of dresser drawers is stuff that's gonna go. This half I'm keeping. And there's all this stuff down here, but I'm really trying to break it down. I would make 3 piles. Definitely get rid of, maybe get rid of, and definitely keep. Once I had started going through the definitely get rid of pile and selling those things online, I then evaluated the maybe keep pile by leaving that stuff in a pile, and if after 2 to 3 weeks I hadn't gone back to retrieve something from that pile, then that to me was a good indicator that I didn't really need it. Already starting to accumulate stuff that I don't want, but this is all stuff I'm getting rid of. I ended up selling those things or donating them. And honestly, like, going through my closet, I donated, I don't even know, at least more than 10 garbage bags of clothes. And that was pretty eye-opening, just realizing how much stuff I had accumulated, just clothing-wise. I don't even consider myself a big shopper, but yeah, it can be a daunting experience, going down that path of minimalism, and it's not a requirement for this lifestyle, but it's definitely helpful. It's really nice to have everything that you need and love in your vehicle when you're traveling. A storage unit is definitely an option, but yeah, I think you'll find that having fewer things makes the transition easier. Outside of evaluating your current financial situation, you might want to consider how you're going to sustain your travels. How will you pay for gas? How will you pay for insurance? How will you pay for food on the road? So one option is maybe you're just going to work and save up a lot of money, and then you go out and travel basically until you run out of money, and then you go back to your job or your apartment and save up again. Another option is to maybe work remotely for your employer if that's a possibility. Or you could try going freelance and starting your own business and working for yourself on the road, which is what I do. And if you're interested in that, I made a video about it a couple weeks ago. You can check it out above in one of these corners. I'll link it. But yeah, finances are very, very important and something that you don't want to be blindsided by once you get on the road. Number 5, plan for the basics. How will you use the shower, use the toilet, and cook your food? So these are 3 of the main hurdles that you'll likely encounter when transitioning to road life. There are a few different options here, and I actually have a whole episode on toilet, shower, and laundry up here if you want to check it out. But real quick, some great options are just to, especially during non-COVID times, get a gym membership. That way you can shower, exercise, and use the bathroom. You can just pay your monthly membership. Another option is to just use truck stops. You can shower there, or you could use campgrounds. Just do your research on which campgrounds allow day use showers. There's also the option of a solar shower, or you could consider having a full build in your vehicle. You know, there's an option for a fully functioning toilet and a shower inside your car. There's rivers, there's lakes, there's friends' houses, Airbnbs, hotels. All of these things are options, but it's important to consider them ahead of time. When it comes to cooking, it's pretty important that you consider your current eating habits and how living on the road will impact them. If you like a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables, if you like to do a lot of cooking, maybe consider getting a fridge or a cooler and a 1-burner stove, camp table. There are a ton of options. Check out the link below to my road life essentials if you're interested in my personal recommendations. Maintaining some form of familiarity and routine in your new lifestyle will really help you stay grounded and will help you stay healthy. Number 6, commit. So this is the stage where you would put in your 2 weeks notice to your employer, or you would put in your notice for your apartment lease and basically commit to moving out and moving onto the road. This is a step that you really shouldn't take until you have saved up enough money to move forward with your plan. This is also a really good time to decide whether or not you want to rent a storage unit. I rented a storage unit for the first year, and actually I still have one now, but it's much, much smaller than the one I started out with. I now have a storage unit that's only $24 a month, and it's a 4x5 unit, and I just have framed photos and some heirlooms from my grandfather in there. So I could get rid of it, but it's so inexpensive. I'm like, why not just keep it? A storage unit is totally optional, but it can be really helpful if you're feeling a little overwhelmed by the process of downsizing. Number 7, get vehicle insurance. Ideally, you'll have insurance that covers your vehicle, your build, and your belongings if possible. So I had kind of an interesting journey with this. Initially, I had an SUV and I just maintained my renter's insurance that would cover my belongings inside of my SUV. And then as a business owner, I also have to have separate business insurance for my camera gear. So those things were covered separately. And then the vehicle itself was just covered under normal insurance. When I got the van, that was a little bit trickier. For the first year, actually, up until recently, I was paying for insurance that I found out wasn't even valid because apparently, you know, I paid like over $2,000 and apparently it would have been invalid because I had a build and that basically nullified the agreement. So what I ended up having to do was getting my vehicle inspected and approved as an RV, and then registering it as an RV, and then obtaining RV insurance. So my vehicle is registered as an RV. It's fully insured, both the vehicle and the build. And then I also have business insurance for all of my camera gear and personal belongings insurance. So that can get a little tricky, and it's honestly way easier to work out when you still have a permanent address. So I would recommend doing that ahead of time if possible. That kind of leads into number 8, which is figuring out how you're going to receive mail and how you're going to vote and register without an address. So If you have parents that live in the state that you're living in, or you can use that as your residency, that's awesome. If you have that option, I would recommend doing that. Alternatively, you could get a address at a PO box, which is what I do. So that's where I receive my mail. I just have it forwarded to whatever city I happen to be in if I need to do so. Things like registering to vote, renewing your driver's license, registering your vehicle, those things are tricky. Like, I won't lie, I've had some gray areas where I've just been figuring it out by trial and error. And I would highly recommend taking care of those things before you move onto the road when you still have an address. Number 9, have a plan A, B, and maybe even a C. Before I moved into an SUV, I spent a lot of time poring over Google Maps, looking at iOverlander and freecampsites.net and BLM Land, trying to determine where I would potentially sleep once I moved out of my apartment, and would it be in close proximity to the gym so I could shower, a library, a coffee shop so I could work and have Wi-Fi, grocery stores. There were a lot of factors I had to consider, and my mind was just racing, like, where am I going to sleep? How am I even going to make this work? This is going to be so weird. I actually spent the first night on Residential Street, a block away from my apartment, because it's where I used to go running in the morning and I was familiar with the area. And I knew people there, so I just stayed there. And then after that, I was rumbling down forest roads and sleeping out on a mountain pass. At first, it was really scary, but then I eased into it and it was fine. My plan B was to rely pretty heavily on friends, to just go park in their driveway or outside their house on the residential street with their permission. Plan C was basically to dip into my savings and get a hotel for 1 to 2 weeks to reevaluate my situation and my life and potentially go apartment hunting and scrap the whole plan and get an apartment. So thankfully I adjusted to road life pretty well and pretty quickly, but having all of those plans in place definitely gave me some peace of mind. Number 10, last but not least, have a positive mindset and a sense of humor. If I've learned anything from living on the road, it's that literally anything is possible. Things rarely go as planned. It's something new every day. But the beauty of this lifestyle is that I'm constantly being challenged. I'm constantly problem solving and learning where my limitations lie, and also just I'm put into new and challenging situations that force me to grow all the time. At the end of the day, it's really your perspective and outlook about this lifestyle that will make all the difference. All right, so that's it. I am about to lose the light and someone is parked next to me looking at me weird because I'm talking to myself in my car. But I just wanted to throw those things out there. I really hope that they're helpful, and I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments about any additional advice you might have or questions you might have. I always love hearing from you. Actually, if you guys want to catch up on a more regular basis, head over to my Instagram. I post over there pretty often, and that's where I usually hang out. So I'd love to see you over there. And until next time, next video, happy holidays, take care.